Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. All right, where's our class today? All right, you guys are awesome. Thank you for being here on time. Here's your do now for today. If you could be any famous person, who would it be? Go ahead and write your answer down in the chat. And then how do you find the least common denominator? How do you find the least common denominator? Also known as the least common multiple. Harry Styles or Michael Jackson. Funny. All right, welcome, welcome. For those of you just joining in, your do now is on the screen. You have 2 more minutes. If your video is not turned on, make sure to turn on your video. Megan the Stallion, that's a good one. Myself, Dion. One day if you become famous, Dion, I can be like, I taught that kid in math, and then I'll be famous by proxy. Oh, excuse me. One more minute. Tyler, the Creator. All right. How do you find the least common denominator? How do you find the least common denominator? What do you have for me, Liana?
I don't know.
Um, remember, how did we figure out what our denominator should be when we added rational expressions together?
Mm,
All right, I'm going to have someone help you out, and then I'm going to have you answer the question again, all right? What do you think, Hannah? How do I find least common denominator?
Um, you look at the denominators and see what goes into them.
Or so you factor them out, and then um, what do you do once you have all the denominators factored out?
add them together?
Yeah, you put them together, exactly. And then Liana, do you count repeats?
No.
No, you only count them once. All right, great teamwork. Good job, Liana and Hannah. Let's go ahead and get started with our good things then. So today's good things will come from what did we leave off on yesterday? I can't remember. I think we left off on Layla. All right, so today's good things are going to come from Q, Sandra, and Venus. Q, what's your good thing?
My internet isn't bugging out anymore. That's a good
I
thing.
know we missed you the past few days.
Yeah.
Awesome, glad you're here. Sandra, what's your good thing?
I am almost done with my homework.
Ooh, exciting. And then Venus, what's your good thing?
I don't know really. I'm almost finished up packing my room.
Are you moving?
Mm-hmm.
When are you moving?
The 28th.
Exciting. Are you excited about that?
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing. My good thing is that y'all know it's Friday, so that means it's Pizza Friday. So I'm gonna order pizza today. It's gonna be pretty great. I'm very excited about it. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our announcement. Unit ends today. So that means that the last day to turn in any Chapter 7 assignments you still have is going to be tonight. So make sure that you get everything turned in. If you're turning in anything late, I need you to send me an email with the name of the assignment that you turned in late so that I can go back and check it. If you don't do that, then I don't go back and check it and your grade never gets fixed. So don't complain to me and say, you never fixed my grade. You need to make sure that you send me an email first before that happens. Questions? Okay.
I think your the big ideas math thing is like wrong. Like it says it's overdue, at least mine. It'll say it's like overdue, but it's like when you put the due dates on the whatever thing, it's right. You know, do you know what I'm trying to say or not? I have pictures of it.
Can you tell me which assignment that was specifically so that I can go fix it? I'm gonna check it right
It's just like all the assignments, like the
Because right now,
like today, the solving rational equations part 1, is that due today?
part 1 was due yesterday. Part 2 is due today.
Okay. Maybe I'm tweaking then. Okay, never mind. But it definitely has happened before.
It might have happened before, but as of now, what I'm looking at, it looks right. Is anyone else experiencing any issues with that? Okay. I mean, as you know, Karen, it very much could be something that I've done. So thank you for sharing. But it looks okay on my end for now. But if that happens again, please like send me an email or let me know because I have been known to make mistakes like that. And especially because I'm still kind of figuring out how to use it. It's a big possibility. Okay, so we voted on doing 3 and 4 today to give you a little bit more time. So for number 3, we're going to just jump into it. When we are solving rational equations, when we have more than one fraction on one side of the equal sign, we have to use an LCD, which stands for least common denominator. And Liana and Hannah so generously gave us how to do that. So we're going to just follow that and solve number 3 and number 4. So for number 3, first you want to double check and make sure all the denominators are factored. So you only have 2 denominators. You have x plus 1, that's factored all the way. And then you have x squared minus 1, which can be factored further. So how can I factor x squared minus 1? How can I factor x squared minus 1? What do you have for me, Karen?
You said what?
How do
I'm
I
trying to find a pen.
x squared minus 1?
The x, I don't know.
You can't use the magic x because you only have 2 terms. Are those perfect squares?
Nope. Is it just like the common multiple, whatever, least common multiple thing?
Those actually are perfect squares. Can someone help Karen out and tell us how do we factor x squared minus 1? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Hannah, is that you raising your hand? How do we factor x squared minus 1? How do we factor x squared minus 1?
Is it just like do the perfect squares, whatever?
Yeah, so the difference of squares. So remember, difference of squares, you've got the square root of x squared. What's the square root of x squared, Karen?
X,
What's
and then you said what?
the square root of 1?
Oh, 1. So it's just plus 1 minus 1, right?
Yep. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so then once you've factored everything out, you need to find the least common multiple. So what's going to be the least common multiple for these denominators? What's the least common multiple? What do you think, Sandra?
I say x plus 1, x minus 1, and plus 3.
No, because the 3 doesn't have a denominator, right? So you don't have to worry about the 3. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so that means that you have to multiply this whole equation by x plus 1, x minus 1. X plus 1, x minus 1. All right, let's look at the left side. So 4x plus 1 over x plus 1. If I multiply that by x plus 1 times x minus 1, what's going to get canceled out? What's going to get canceled out? What do you think, Hannah?
The x plus 1, x minus 1 under the 12, and also one of the x plus, does one of the x plus 1s?
Let's just focus on this one right here. So what's going to get canceled out with just this fraction?
X plus 1.
So it's 4x plus 1. And then what are you going to have left over, Hannah, to multiply with the 4x plus 1?
You're going to have x minus 1.
Yep. Thank you. All right, now we're going to go to the next fraction, 12 over x plus 1, x minus 1. What's going to get canceled out with this fraction? Q.
Ain't it x plus 1 and x minus 1? I don't know.
What's going to be left?
Just 12.
Yep. And then for the 3, it doesn't have a denominator, so you can't cancel anything out. So you just have to write out x minus 1, x plus 1. You have to multiply it by the whole thing. All right, so this is going to be a lot of steps, I'm just warning you, because it's kind of a doozy when you got to multiply a binomial times a binomial. You can do it two different ways. You can use FOIL, which is first, outer, inner, last, or I like to use the box method. So you do a 2 by 2 box, and on the top, you're going to write one of your factors. So I'm going to do 4x plus 1. And on the side, I'm going to write another factor. So that would be x minus 1. And then to fill in the box, all you're going to do is multiply the two sides together. So to finish, or to fill in the top left, it's going to be 4x times x, which is 4x squared. And then you've got negative 1 times 4x, which is negative 4x. And then you've got 1 times x, which is just x. And then 1 times negative 1, which is negative 1. Any questions about how we filled that in? All right. From here, you'll notice on the diagonal, you can combine those because negative 4x and x are like terms. So you've got 4x squared. Negative 4x plus x is negative 3x minus 1. Questions on how we simplified that? All right, and that's going to equal 12 plus 3, but now we have to multiply x minus 1 times x plus 1. So that's going to be another box. So we've got x minus 1 at the top, x plus 1 on the side. And then to fill in the box, you're going to do x times x, which is x squared. 1 times x, which is x. Negative 1 times x, which is negative x. And then negative 1 times 1, which is negative 1. On the diagonal, you have x and negative x, so those combine together, and then x minus x is just 0. Those cancel out, so all that's left there is x squared minus 1. Questions on that so far? All right, next we're going to distribute this 3. So it's going to be 12 plus 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And then we've got 4x squared minus 3x minus 1. You'll notice you have like terms over here. 12 minus 3, those are like terms. 12 minus 3 is 9 plus 3x squared. Then you've got 4x squared minus 3x minus 1. Questions so far? All right, anytime you've got an x squared and an x, you know you're going to need to factor, but in order to factor, you need to move everything over to one side. So how do you choose which side to move it over to? You want to move everything over to the larger x squared side. So you have two x squared terms. You have the 4x squared and you have the 3x squared. 4x squared is the bigger one. 4x squared is bigger than 3x squared, so you want to move everything over to 4x squared. So you got the 9. We're going to subtract 9 to move it over. I'm going to do a shortcut. I'm going to do both at once. Make sure that you line up the like terms, so 9 should go under 1. And then you've got 3x squared. So we're going to subtract 3x squared. Make sure you line it up. Questions so far? All right. So when you simplify this, you're going to get 4x squared minus 3x squared is x squared minus 3x. Negative 1 minus 9 is negative 10. And then the 9s will cancel out. The 3x squareds will cancel out. So you're just left with 0. Questions on that? All right, we're halfway there. The next step is we have to factor x squared minus 3x minus 10. How am I going to factor that out? How am I going to factor that out? What do you think Dion.
Do you add 10 to 0?
No, if we have 3 terms, how do we factor? What method do we use?
Oh, the magic X?
And then Dion, can you tell me what goes at the top and what goes at the bottom of my X?
Does negative 10 go at the top?
So -3 at the bottom. All right, I'll take a volunteer for this. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you can fill in the X.
-5 and +2.
-5 and +2 is correct. Q. So we know that we have X minus 5 plus 2 equals 0. You're almost there. You just have to set each factor equal to 0 and solve for X. So X minus 5 is equal to 0. Add 5 to both sides. So X is equal to 5. And then X plus 2 is equal to 0. Subtract 2 from both sides. So X is equal to -2. Don't forget though, you got to check your answers. So just because you got your X values, that doesn't mean you're done. You have to go back and check your work. I don't have enough room on this page, so I'm going to go to the back to check it. Does anyone need more time to copy this down before I flip the page? All right, let's go ahead and try 5 first. So everywhere you see an X, you're going to plug in 5. So it's going to be 4 times 5 plus 1 over 5 plus 1 is equal to 12 over 5 squared minus 1 plus 3. Make sure you simplify before you put it into your calculator. So 4 times 5 is 20. 20 plus 1 is 21. 5 plus 1 is 6. Is equal to 12 over 5 squared is 25. 25 minus 1 is 24. Plus 3. And then take out your handy dandy calculator. You're going to do parentheses 21 divided by 6, which is 3.5. And then 12 divided by 24, which is 0.5. Oops. Sorry, I meant to put all that together. 12 divided by 24 plus 3, which is 3.5. So 3.5 does equal 3.5, so that answer works. The next answer we have to check is -2. So everywhere you see an X, now we're going to plug in -2. All right, so we've got 4 parentheses -2 plus 1. Oh, I don't need to do that in my calculator. I could if I wanted to. 4 times -2 is -8. -8 plus 1 is -7. -2 plus 1 is -1. Is equal to 12 over -2 squared is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3 plus 3. So we're going to do -7 divided by -1 first. That's going to give you +7 is equal to 12 divided by 3 plus 3 is also +7. So that also checks out.
I
Question?
have a question.
Yes.
So why is it that we have to put these in parentheses? Does it make a difference?
It doesn't. I always just put them in parentheses when I plug stuff in. I think the main problem or time that it makes a difference is when you're squaring it and if it's a negative. Like -2 squared, you want to put it in parentheses. Otherwise, if you put it in your calculator, it's going to say that it's going to do the 2 squared first, and then it's going to put a negative in front of that. But that's the only time I'd say it's really important.
Okay.
Any other questions? Woo, that was a long one. All right, let's get started on the next one. Party, Friday party. No, just me? Cool, 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 cool. on to number 4. So we've got 6 over x minus 3 is equal to 8x squared over x squared minus 9 minus 4x over x plus 3. First step, you got to factor everything. X minus 3 is factored all the way. X plus 3 is factored all the way. We can still factor x squared minus 9 though. How can I factor out x squared minus 9? How can I factor out x squared minus 9? What do you think, Venus?
Nine and x is a perfect square.
Yep, so then how would you factor it out?
Ain't 9 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then x is just x.
Right, and then what goes in between those?
A minus and a plus sign, I think.
Good job. So everything is factored, so now we can go ahead and find that least common multiple. So what's my least common multiple gonna be? Ethan.
Um, 3.
What, sorry?
Hmm.
I couldn't hear you. One more time.
The least common multiple, wouldn't it be 3?
Well, you got to collect all the denominators. So you have to have this x minus 3, right? Then I have to have this x plus 3. Am I going to count this x minus 3, Ethan?
Nah, it's a repeat.
And then am I going to count this x plus 3?
Nah, that's another repeat.
So now we're going to multiply this whole equation by x minus 3, x plus 3. All right, let's look at 6 over x minus 3. So the x minus 3 will cancel out, so you're just left with 6 times x plus 3. If you look at the 8x squared over x plus 3 times x minus 3, both of the denominators will cancel out, so you're just left with 8x squared. And then 4x over x plus 3, the x plus 3s will cancel out, so you're just left with 4x times x minus 3. Sorry, the x plus 3s will cancel out, so you're left with x minus 3. Are there any questions? All right. What am I going to get when I distribute the 6 to everything in the parentheses? What am I going to get when I distribute the 6? What do you think, Layla?
6x plus plus 18.
Perfect. Equals 8x squared, and then I have to distribute this negative 4x to everything. What am I going to get when I distribute the negative 4x? What do you have for me, Karen?
It's negative 4x squared and then plus 12.
Good job. Can I combine any like terms, Sandra? Can I combine any like terms?
No.
You see the x squareds? Those are like terms, right?
Oh yeah.
So what is 8x squared minus 4x squared?
Negative 4x squared.
Positive 4x squared, because 8 is bigger than 4. So 8 minus 4 is just positive 4. So 4x squared plus 12 on the right side, you still have the 6x plus 18. All right, anytime you've got... Yes, sir.
The 12 has to be a 12x.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, Q. I think Karen said x and then I didn't write it down. What a brain fart. All right, so you've got the 4x squared and the 12x. So anytime you've got the x squared and the x, you have to factor. But before you can factor, you need to make sure that you move everything over to one side. So move it all over to the side that has the bigger x squared. So x squared is bigger over here. Actually, you only have one x squared term. So you're going to move the 6x and the 18 over. I'm going to do it all at once. So I'm going to subtract 6x. Make sure that you line it up under the like term when you do that to the other side. And then subtract 18. Six x cancels out, 18 cancels out, so you're left with 0 is equal to 4x squared. 12x minus 6x is 6x minus 18. Questions so far? All right, so we have 3 terms, which means that we're going to use the magic x, but before we use the magic x, you'll notice that there's a number that goes into all of those terms. What is that number? You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
2.
2.
2, yep. So you can factor out a 2. That's your GCF. So 4x squared divided by 2 is 2x squared. 6x divided by 2 is 3x. And negative 18 divided by 2 is negative 9. Unfortunately, we can't take a GCF out of this inside the parentheses, so we're going to have to use this for our magic x. Remember that before you can put this in the magic x, you have to get rid of the number in front of the x squared. So we're going to have to do bottoms up. So you have to take this number and multiply it with the last number and then rewrite your equation. So it's going to be 0 equals 2. That 2 in front of the x squared is going to disappear. So it's going to be x squared plus 3x, and then 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. And now we can go ahead and put it in the magic x. So we're going to put negative 18 at the top and 3 at the bottom. I'll take a volunteer for this one, so go and unmute yourself if you can fill in the x for me.
Six and negative 3.
Negative 3 is correct. So you've got x plus 6, x minus 3. This is the number one mistake I see students make, is that you'll just stop here. But remember, we had that 2 in the front from the beginning. So we need to bring it back. We can't just leave it hanging. So you have to bring it back by dividing both of the constants by 2. And then simplify if you can. So 6 over 2, that will simplify down to 3. 3 over 2 can't be simplified further, so what you're going to do is slide that 2 up in front of the x. So it's going to be 2x minus 3, and those are your factors. All right, I ran out of room, so I'm going to go to the back. So I'll give you some time to finish copying this down, and then we'll finish it up on the back. Does anyone need more time? All right, so we've got number 4, continue. We had 0 equals 2 times x plus 3 and 2x minus 3. So we got to set each factor equal to 0. We don't care about the 2 because there's no x in there, but we have to set x plus 3 equal to 0 and 2x minus 3 equals 0. Oh, you guys can't see that. That's not helpful. All right, I'm going to give everyone 30 seconds to solve for x for both of those, and then I'll call on someone to share their answer. So go ahead and solve for x for both of those. Take 30 seconds, and I'll call on someone to share their answer. Ten more seconds. All right, what do you have for me, Hannah?
All right, I got x equals negative 3, and I got x equals 1.5.
Yeah, 3 over 2 or 1.5, I'll accept either one. It's fine. Last thing you got to do is plug them back in to make sure that they work. So let's start with the -3 first. So you've got 6 over -3 minus 3 equals 8 times -3 squared over -3 squared minus 9. So to answer your question, Karen, I usually put them in parentheses anytime they're squared or anytime they're multiplied. Minus -4x over -3 plus 3. All right, before you put it in your calculator, simplify it down to just one number in the numerator and the denominator. So -3 minus 3 is -6. -3 squared is 9. 9 times 8 is 72. And then -3 squared is 9. 9 minus 9 is 0. This should cause you to pause for a second because you're like, wait a second, I can't divide by 0. That's not allowed. So actually, you can stop right here. You don't need to do the whole thing. You cannot divide by 0. That's not allowed. So actually, this solution does not work because you're not allowed to divide by 0. And if you were to plug -3 in, it causes you to divide by 0, which is not allowed. Questions on that? All right, so the next one we're going to plug in is the 3/2 or 1.5. I suggest going with the 1.5 because it's just easier to put into your calculator than trying to put in a fraction. So everywhere you see an x, you're going to plug in a 1.5. And I'm sort of lazy, so I'm just going to use my calculator for all of it to simplify it. So 1.5 minus 3 is -1.5. So 6 over -1.5 is equal to 8 parentheses 1.5 squared is 18. 1.5 squared minus 9 is -6.75. And then 4 times 1.5 is 6 over 1.5 plus 3 is 4.5. And then just make sure that they equal each other. So parentheses 6 divided by -1.5 is -4. 18 divided by -6.75. Oh, I was supposed to put the whole thing. 18 divided by -6.75 minus parentheses 6 divided by 4.5 is -4. That checks out. So your only answer for this is x equals 3/2 or 1.5. Phew, we are done. Any questions on this? Anyone need more time to copy this down before I switch the screen? All right, so here's your homework for tonight. You just have 7.5 part 2, and then if you have any late work, you need to make sure you turn it in by tonight. I won't take it after that. We're starting the new unit on Monday, and all that information is up on Canvas, so it's a whole new module. So it's unit 6 now that we're gonna be working on, so make sure you download that stuff before Monday. I'm gonna stay till the end of the period if you wanna get started on your homework or if you have any questions. Otherwise, you're free to go. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday.